kill time until it's up and running, or is it being recorded somewhere?
It's being recorded. Just wait 2 seconds. You're picking up.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Moving on to board member comments. Anything you would like to share? Okay, I'll just jump in here briefly. I think we're now, what, 1 month in? Just about? Almost 1 month. I think we're under new leadership, obviously, and Devin, I appreciate all the effort you put in so far today. There've obviously been some changes, and bumpy or otherwise, I think change is always something that's a little bit disruptive, and I think so far it's been positive, but there has been a lot more transparency and communication. I appreciate folks coming out to talk with the principal. I think the students seem really happy. Seems like we've got good energy. The staff is doing a great job, and we've heard really good reports back. So I think we're starting things off on the right foot, and I'm really encouraged by the direction we're headed. And,
thank you so much.
You still have an opportunity if you want to jump in on board member comments. Thank you. We're going to jump into the next agenda item here, reports and presentations. Josh with the fiscal.
So with you guys board packets, you should have this document. It's about 8 or 9 pages. This is the front cover. So what we're going over today is the August 31st financials for the school. So we're at the beginning of the year, so there's still a little bit of things we're trying to get straightened out, but this is the first packet of the packet that you'll probably be seeing monthly. I know I see some new people, so you might not be familiar with this, but this is what we go over. We just kind of update everyone on how the financials were for the year. So first page after that one should be the financial summary. It should say financial summary on top. This is just a quick high-level narrative of what we put in, just so you know, if you weren't here, you can just kind of look at that, get a general understanding of what's going on. The main thing that I want to bring to your attention with the financial summary is really the first box. And it says, this report is as of August 31st, 2022, compared against our board-approved budget on 6/22/2022, which was based on 266 students enrolled and 253 ADA. So that's important because the last time we presented a budget to the board approved a budget that the school presented that said 266 enrolled and 253 ADA. So what that means is the school can't hit those numbers, then a lot of these numbers, at least revenue-wise, become irrelevant or meaningless. Yeah. And so I do have a little note there just so the board is informed that, the last time I spoke with the school leaders, it looks like the enrollment is currently at 244. So that's not, ideal, but obviously you have plenty of time to work there. It's at 244, and right now that projects to be a loss of $41,000. So little caveat with that one is there was a giant COLA from the governor's budget that really helped all the schools in California get a little bit more money than we originally anticipated at when we built the budget on 6/22. The issue is, though, you guys are really short of your enrollment number. So the net effect of that COLA is, at this point, -41 based off the latest projection. So I just bring that to your guys' attention because, though we are going over these numbers a lot, could be meaningless if you don't hit certain numbers. So just want to make sure that's clear. The other comments are just comments that I'll go over once it gets to those slides. Not as important right now, given we're at the beginning of the year. So next page is, these are just typical financial metrics. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't know that, I think you can read it and get it on your own take. But I do want to skip over to the page that says actual to budget summary. Actual to the budget summary. And the main things that I want to bring to your attention are the total revenue. So that's about midway through. It should say total revenue. So as of August, the total revenue was $286,508. What we budgeted to come in was 157,733. So that's a positive 128,000. The overwhelming majority on why you guys have a favorable variance right now in revenue is because there was a large grant that was received for $98,000. So that's why you are so positive. We didn't really have that budgeted the last time we made the budget, but that's why. So that's a good thing. However, the thing to kind of be aware about is the total expenses, $440,000 in the actual as of August. What we budgeted was $388,000 at this point. So we are running at a deficit of $50,000, $51,000. There are some line items that seem to be trending high, a little over. Some of that is typical for the beginning of the school, but we'll really have to see how the rest of the year shakes out to see like how that all balances out. But as of now, we are running high in certain areas. And then so the net income at this point, the actual was a deficit of 153,000 right now. We budgeted at this point to be a deficit of 230,000. So you are favorable, but a lot of that, you know, your $98,000 grant that we didn't budget for is really getting eaten up by a lot of stuff. And just to remind you guys, all of these numbers are meaningless if you can't hit certain ADA and enrollment numbers. Any questions on this slide?
The ADA changes are baked into these actuals.
They are not.
They are not.
They are
but
not.
The grant is.
The grant is, yes. And just not that, I'm just going to share just so you guys are aware, those ADA numbers, the way that it's structured, they don't get trued up, well, adjusted until 2 points of the year. One is in February and the other is in June. So we could be running with we're going to be running with these for like 6 months, and you're just going to have to kind of be mindful that I'm letting you know it's wrong, or they'll take it back if they need to.
But even with that 41,000, because of the grant, we'd still be positive relative to our budget.
In the revenue section, yes, but the expense section.
No, but from a bottom line standpoint, from a net income standpoint, we should be positive. by
Oh, if you were
40,000-ish.
if you were gonna offset the two, but that's a good.
Only if we have the 266, right? Going down to the 244 for a full year would project out to still having a net loss.
Yes, that's important. So this total budget, just to remind everyone, and I probably should have went over this sooner, my bad, is this total budget that you see, this was the budget that the board last approved at the preliminary time. And if you'll notice the net income, like the board approved a negative $183,000 budget. So.
Who's our treasurer?
Hey, there's a reason why you got off. Not just kidding. Sorry.
You gotta go.
Yeah, so I know I went over a lot. It is early in the year. A lot's going to change just in next month. I mean, there is also a ton of new money out there. How eligible this particular school is for that will remain to be seen. But I guess the main points that I want everyone to take away is like get that enrollment, get that ADA up, because a lot of the benefits that happen, you're not going to be able to capitalize if you aren't meeting your numbers. And obviously, and there's expense wise, we're only 2 months in, but they do seem to be a little higher than probably budget for this point.
Josh, State Bill 740, they're gonna make a difference. It's the one.
That's the 840.
740. It's the lease reimbursement. They changed the formula.
Yeah,
Is that gonna
so
affect us? Could be now.
well, so one of this is if I'm understanding correctly, one of the issues with this particular school is they were eligible for facility funding, and then they went to ineligible because of the demographics that the school serves.
Well, I know Peter asked Elise to look into that.
Okay,
I haven't heard back, so.
Yeah. I don't have it.
Cool.
Actually,
No worries.
but I know what you're talking
That happened a couple of years ago.
about. Yeah.
Which is why Josh is here.
Any questions on this?
So February.
Yes. So in February, so how it works is all of this, you're just getting funded off of last year's data. So last year, I think you ended at like 255 or something like that. So you're still getting funded at 255, but they're advancing you, assuming you're going to come close to that number.
So for the assumption it's based on 255.
Correct. But in February, whatever your number is, it'll recalibrate and they'll adjust your payments.
Assuming no changes to
students coming.
Pardon?
Assuming no change to the, like assuming we say 240 before, what happens to this?
Oh, so so if they recalculated, and let's say they were paying you at a trend too high, like your enrollment number is lower, then they just pay you less. They're gonna your back end payments for the last 5 months are just gonna be lower than what they are in July through.
We know what that word.
Oh, so that's just gonna depend on how your numbers shake out when the time they pull the data. Yeah, it's too early to know, obviously, because they pull that data in like December. But the goal, like, if you can start now, just try to get as many kids in here and start getting them to come to class.
And it is twofold. So it's one, getting as many students into the school as possible, but also keeping the attendance rate up.
Sure.
Because if we have full enrollment, but we have a lot of absences, that brings the total ADA down. The ADA stands for average daily attendance. So it's the amount of students that we have in class.
And that's the SB 840 that I was saying.
Yeah, that was a different one, yeah.
Right, and I haven't seen any movement on that one.
Okay.
But supposedly it's gonna pass, but I haven't seen any movement in 2 months.
Okay, and just moving on, this one's just a monthly cash balance over time. Cash is important. I wouldn't put too much stock into this, obviously, because you could go out tomorrow and have to fix your plumbing, and that costs you $50,000, and that wasn't reflected on here. But nonetheless, just a little graph for you guys.
Just out of curiosity, just because I don't remember off the top of my head, like for August, we're at $1.3 million or $1.035 million. Do you know what we projected at that point? Because we're well over projections, aren't we?
Oh, I don't, just because it just recalibrated. I mean, the projections don't matter. No, yeah,
I can go back and look. Fine,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then so here's the balance sheet. So this is just a more comprehensive view of the organization over time. Really, the main things that I like to point out is the cash. So if you look to the left, you'll see cash. That's that $1,035,000 that Michael was talking about. So that's how much was in the school's bank account on August 30th, 2022. The other piece that I feel is pretty valuable for the school to know is if you look to the right, there's a liabilities and net assets. Total current liabilities as of that same point was $239,000. So the reason why I bring that up is just because you have $1,035,000 in the cash, you do have some outstanding things that, if the school were to have to pay off all its obligations tomorrow, they'd be on the hook for $239,000. So, but there's plenty of cash in the bank, stuff that's to meet your obligations. Any questions on that one? No questions? And yeah, the rest is just informative. There's a schedule on there on upcoming things, and, more information stuff. So, any questions on anything financial related, not necessarily in this packet?
I think so, seeing nobody. Anyone has a question? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna reshuffle the agenda here a little bit, so that we can get clear, pushed up, because I know you guys have other obligations, so we're gonna do the parent foundation report.
Thanks. I have Belly pick up full disclosure. I appreciate you shuffling me. All right, so our last meeting was September. We had 23 attendees. And that was a really solid number. I know that we struggled with Zoom, so I feel like we probably lost some people during that struggle. So we've been testing that out, and we're gonna get that better for next go. We have a couple of committees underway. The joint communications, we are working with the board to kind of outline the different areas that need to be addressed so that we can come together as a school, as a foundation, as a board, and make sure that we're pushing information to the public in a unified way and that we're all aware of the same information. As we've tried to kind of map that out, we realized it's quite a large scope of information to take down. So we'll be breaking that into chunks. But we do have a webmaster newly on board at the foundation who's making a lot of progress in gathering up all of our information and really helping to kind of shape the direction of that committee. We've also started work on putting together a grants and awards committee. Our foundation VP Sally is taking that up. I believe we have commitment from an interested board member that might champion that. Thank you, Michael Tomby. And a few other members who have also expressed interest. So I think we've got a full committee there to start working on additional grants and additional awards around the community that I think will help us get more grants in addition to that. So they've already identified some opportunities, and now we just need to make sure that those align with the school before we start submitting for them. A couple of calendar updates. The movie night is moving ahead for October 14th. I believe some flyers have already been put together. The committee will start setting up for that at 3:30 on the 14th. The movie is Transylvania 4. Yes. So we've got some good traction there. The Jogathon is October 21st. The sponsorship page is live on the website. If anybody has friends, family, businesses that they would like to have sponsor in addition, it is up and live on the webpage if that's an easier platform for you to share it on. Future planning, the gala is underway. Megan's really working hard at that. She is looking at a local venue in Old Town at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. The beautiful facility. We're really trying to focus all of our efforts on staying in Old Town and building up their community presence. Let's see, all our classes have a parent representation. Our foundation council is fully formed. All of the slots have people in them. We've got some good energy going there. And then I have a couple of requests that maybe school, maybe board from various parents and people who have come through the meeting and or back channels after the meeting. There have been some requests for volunteer requirement clarifications. If we could, as a group, work on either an FAQ or maybe just some outlines. I think we've been trying to make it clear in classroom it has a certain set of requirements that are higher, out of classroom doesn't, but there's still some questions about those requirements and some inconsistencies between us and the Sandy Unified requirements is really where a lot of the pushback that I'm hearing. So again, I'm not sure if that's a school decision or a board decision or a combo, but there are some requests to look at items like TV requirements. Is it a test only? Is there a worksheet checklist that you can fill out? There's some options that we've seen available in other schools that they'd like to have considered. Field trips, I think it's going to keep coming up until we have some answers about what we're doing as a school for field trips. Budget transparency. So we just talked about the budget, but I think it would be good for parents to understand maybe at a more simplified level what our budget gaps are. So we speak a lot at the foundation about filling the gap, right, between the school budget and between what the foundation raises, and having kind of a breakdown of what that looks like. Specifically, more recently, there have been questions about the lunches, but then in general, people are curious, like when we donate money through the foundation, are we filling operational gaps? Are we filling gaps between music, PE, robotics and technology? Where is it that we're really filling that? And I think if we could create some very high level, like maybe 5 different breakdown categories to explain where we're filling that would help a lot of people, both in the asks outside of the school and in the asks inside the school. Let's see, and then a couple of class specific items. The wish list items we are taking a look at the foundation, but again, there have been some asks about whether these are truly foundation items or if there may be more school budget items. So we just like to bring that back and either have the board take a look at a couple of items that seem a little more school specific and less extra, and just make sure that those are getting funded through the right channels. And then the Kendrick playground area, we are planning with the foundation to coordinate another cleanup day, but there have been a couple of questions from some of the volunteers in the classroom about the cadence for cleaning that space, since it is both a lunch space and not just a playground space, as to whether or not that's getting cleaned on a lunch space cadence or a playground cadence. There are concerns. Good questions for us. Are you allowed to ask questions for us? Do you want to ask?
We are,
We are. I am not a parliamentarian, however. I slept well last night.
Any questions from the group there? Claire, I got
So,
Yes.
on the communication, thanks for putting that together.
Yeah.
is the ask right now for the principal and staff is that we need access to update the website? We are alignment on it.
So I don't know that we're there yet. I honestly think, before we start asking for, outside of, standard, I know there are a number of things that people have brought up, that are more technical, right? If there are grammar issues or things like that, that's fine. But I think when we talk about a joint communication plan, it's more of a vision for what do we want to have out there on the website. So less of a web page specific updates and more of a, do we want this many tabs in each of these things? Do we need to update our content around what OTA is? And so I think it's bigger than just going through and updating each of the web pages. It's what do we want to be presenting to the community? Who is our community? Are we speaking to our students and our families? Are we speaking to our sponsors? And kind of getting a joint vision for what we want that to look like as a school, a board, and a foundation, and then going down and looking at. So I think the point of the committee is to decide on the vision and not to do the actual like individual page work until we've figured out what that is, so that we're not just correcting pages, that we're thinking about it more holistically.
But does that include your Facebook, Insta, Twitter, whatever the school has as well, right?
So those of us on the foundation feel like it should. We think that from a vision standpoint, we should agree on the types of information we want to put out there and where we want that information to be portrayed. So the OTA schools Facebook page, I think, doesn't have a maintenance plan right now. It doesn't have a content plan right now. The foundation Facebook and Instagram pages are being managed from the foundation, and that's fine. We can continue to do that. But if there's information the school as a whole would like to be pushing out and we could support, there's no plan for that.
But does the committee that you're talking about, and you were representing the board for, does that need to coordinate the Facebook and the Insta, so the message is consistent across the website and all of that together? Is that where you envision that coming from?
So I think and again, we're open to feedback, but in the initial conversations we have had, the idea isn't that the board or the school or the foundation would each dictate like individual content posts, but we would agree that the foundation is really going to be responsible for this type of content and this cadence of pushing out information, and the school is going to focus on this type of content and pushing out this type of information so that everybody knows who's doing what and where we can support each other. That's great, but we're not all working either in parallel to each other and you have 3 people doing one job, or in contrast to each other where maybe there's some communication on calendar alignment, or if I'm updating every Tuesday and you're updating every Tuesday, there's probably a better way we could work on the resources that we have.
So happy to jump in before it would be somebody on the staff to.
Yeah, for sure. I know when Christian talks about technology, we've been doing audit of the website. We did go on the page, I know what you're talking about. And I felt it was important that I did that, so I knew what was on the website, so I knew what the vision looked like. So when we did sit down to make some changes, like I knew what it looked like and how we could flow things together. So we're in the middle of that. I know he's going to speak to that when it comes around, but that is a process that we're working on. We had a conversation today, and when we get there and we talk about it, like my expectation is that when we meet again as a board, the website is up to date and where we want to launch from there.
Yeah, and I do think it's a twofold thing, right? There's the keeping and maintaining what we have in existence and making sure that what we have out in the world is correct and accurate and up to date.
And has the image that we want to push out.
Yep, and then there's the bigger picture of what do we want our general communication plan to look like going forward.
Sure.
And both of them kind of have to happen together, otherwise something's just not going to be working correctly. But I think there's also an opportunity to have a bigger scope and think about, as a joint unit, how do we approach that?
From your view, would you say the title timelines next board meeting?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we will have audited every page at that point and have a good understanding of what's in there and cleared out a lot of old information and updated that into new information. And then I think we'll be at a place where we can start to go, okay, what do we want to do with this now? Where does it go now? Because when it copied over, some of it copied over well, some of it didn't copy over well, or it was bad before. I don't really know what the answer on that one was. But like, I mean, we've gone in and found pages that have stuff from like pre-COVID that still exist on the website that we've updated. And unfortunately, it's a longer process than I thought it was. But I feel like, you know, a month from now, we're 100% in a place where we will be through the pages. Because I think we've probably pumped about 8 to 10 hours of just like grind time into it right now, page by page, word by word, making sure that we've got things updated in the areas that we need. So I would love to tell you it'd be sooner than that, but fine tooth combing was more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. I just want to get a high level sense of what the timeline with sequencing be. So it sounds like in a month from now, let's revisit, we'll get together, we'll come up with a process at that point.
Yeah.
And then, but is there anything from now on, from next month that we need, that's urgent that we need to coordinate before?
So if the school feels like we need to wait for that, I mean, in my mind, they're not, one is not tied to the other. The idea.
You're talking about the social media stuff? Yeah, I don't see them tied
About
together
our
either. I feel like they
communication
can be different.
So should we, what's our process for aligning on social media?
Yeah, so Claire and I've talked, on my understanding, I could be wrong, is we were gonna put this committee together to kind of function in what direction do we want to go with our social media. So I have access to the Facebook page. I somehow tied to my Facebook, thanks to Mrs. Cook, but I don't fully understand how it got tied to my Facebook. So we can start updating it. The problem is I'm not ready to be like fully in charge of updating that regularly and sending out messages. So I'm looking forward to putting this together and figuring out how we can work.
Maybe we could take this offline, but basically your theory is like, right, starting now, we could start aligning on the process for.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, and the website's just gonna have to join us later. If that
That's
makes
fine.
sense.
Yeah, I think we had some discussion, maybe like some point the website, you know, sort of truth for public communication, but we can wait on that. But right now we can get started on it.
100%.
Yeah, I don't think the vision needs to wait on all the functioning parts to have
Agreed.
an answer. There is a communication plan out. I can resend it if you would like, but there is the plan
With-
of
Like
the
Celeste.
breakdown.
No.
An outline of the concept that I'm talking about right now, which is to align conceptually on who's gonna do what work and who's gonna
Yeah, yeah.
function which work, not the actual pushing of content.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
I've seen that email.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? I'm just gonna take the opportunity to plug one more time. I think you said donations were due by Friday or.
Due by
sponsors.
Friday.
Yeah.
And the sponsorship is, the sponsorships are due Friday, right? People can continue donating well after that. You should have received a paper home about it from your child. If not, on the foundation page on the website, I think it's the second drop down now. The Jogathon sponsor link is on there and you can access it directly from there and send it off to as many people as you would like. It's also on the Instagram and on the Facebook, either one of the foundation.
Great. And we're soliciting $250, $500, and $1,000.
Those are the sponsorship levels. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you'll get bigger and bigger pictures the more money you get.
So I encourage everybody to reach out to friends, family, associates, and shake the tree.
And then also the hand bid QR code was on that packet as well, right?
Yes.
So that's for creating your individual students, Jogathon solicitation. So that's
Yes.
open and up and running and
That-
people can start working on that too.
Yes,
right?
that is my understanding, and I have not received any feedback that it is not working.
Perfect.
So I believe that is accurate. There is also a Venmo QR on the Jogathon sponsor, if that is easier.
I've mentioned this before.
Yes.
I'd be happy to use my, not mine, but the USD institutional, the USD has an institutional membership to the Foundation Center where we could run grant reports, like, perhaps like several hundred-page long grant reports on like different foundations that may or may not, correspond to the criteria that we input into the system. So I can't actually just give the password and username out, but I could sit with somebody.
But I feel like you're wanting to be on the committee.
Well, no.
That's what I wrote down already.
I will sit with the committee for, an hour or
Okay.
two and we can run a report. That's all that's all you really need, right?
We'll count
So
you
for
as
you-
the grant committee advisor.
Are you able to run the report in PDF?
Yeah.
That's probably a great way to go.
I think it will perhaps help to sort of see what you're actually
Yeah.
looking for to, to feed into the system.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Any more questions for Claire? Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Teacher liaison report.
It says I have nothing to report.
You promise.
So, no, I mean, we're just, I think the staff is in a good place right now from the teacher perspective with, Mr. Phelps has been great with communication. I know that was a big area of the teacher that stayed, and I think the new teachers, everyone's, getting the support they need. At the beginning of the year is really unwelcome. That's all I have.
Okay, office administrator report, Natalie.
I have just enrollment report for tonight. Like Josh mentioned earlier, we are standing at 244. We do have a student that is supposed to start with us tomorrow, so that would be 245. We do have offers out. All of the grades that we do have waitlist in, but there are some grades where we actually run through our waitlist. So I have the totals here. We do still have 5 on our TK waitlist, and then we have 0 in our kinder and first grade classrooms, and we're looking for 2 students in first grade and 2 students in kinder. We also have 2 students open in second and third, and then on the wait list for those, we have 4 in second and 12 in third grade. We currently have 27 in fourth grade, with
Sorry.
5 on our wait list
27
in fourth.
kids in fourth, so we have 4 open spots?
3.
Sorry, 3 open spots?
How many on that wait list? Sorry.
5.
So before we jump in then, because I think these numbers sound substantially similar to what we did last month. It looks like we burned through the wait list on kinder and still have 2 spots.
Right.
Is there a reason we don't fill them in with TK?
So I'll answer that question. So I went to Miss Little just to talk to her teacher and get a feel for how she was feeling with the mix. And she was pretty adamant right now. She didn't feel like she could take on TK. So that's why I haven't taken TK kids now. But we should talk about that.
And then the open slots for second, third, fourth, it looks like we have enough in the wait list. Are those where offers are out?
We have offers out in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh.
How long are we giving them to respond to their offer?
We typically give them 24 hours. However, if we do reach out to them and they want to set up a tour, we do give them a little bit extra time to be able to set up a tour.
So I think last month we had some folks taking a tour the next day. Did they decide not to go? Okay. And then I think there were some students that were supposed to start. Did they not start?
So we have had a couple of students that did not start. They were a no-show. We had one that did come and then disenrolled. We have a student that's supposed to start tomorrow, so we'll actually see if they come. And then we burn through the wait list and the ones that I just mentioned.
Are we hearing any feedback from those who no-showed or who enrolled and disenrolled?
Not from the ones that we are that are no-show. They're just, for lack of a better word, ghosting.
And then how long are we giving them if they're no showing? Like, how long are we giving them a week to then say they're
No.
no showing?
We only give them about the second day if they no-show.
And if they go, so if they call and say, my kid has COVID, they'll start again.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So sorry, I kind of hijacked it. So for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th,
We have offers out.
how many on the wait list?
We have 1 in 5th grade, 16 in 6th grade. We still have 5 in 7 and 0 in 8.
And how many open slots in those grades?
With 5th, we have 4, 6th, we have 2, 7th, we have 6, 8, we have 3.
Is that with the last two that left?
That was sixth grade. Right, there's another seventh.
So how many families total have we had disenroll from the beginning of school year?
So from the beginning of this year, we've had a total of 33 students that have left us. And I actually was able to go back into our enrollment application system. So I actually have numbers for the last couple of years.
Sorry, I just want to clarify, make sure I understand what you're saying. The 33, is that from that were here last year and no longer, or they showed up on the first
It's
day?
just a
Cumulative of last year to this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so in 21, going into the 21-22 school year, we had actually 44 students that left us. And then going into the 2021 school year, we had 23, and then the 19-20 school year, we had 20. So there is an uptick.
Sorry, you said 2021 was 44, 2020 is 23?
21-20 is 23, then 19-20 is 20. So there is an uptick, but the last couple of years, it's hard to say why we've lost so many students. If you ask around to many of the other schools, they are facing the same thing. I do have colleagues in other like public school districts, and they've actually had to like close down some of their classrooms, whereas if they have like 4 fourth grade classrooms, they've actually had to condense them and they just have 3. So it is everywhere. It's not just us, it's just it's across the state.
And I know
I
that
think what I find interesting is that the push to move our start date back to compete with San Diego Unified has coincided with our 2 biggest losses of the last 2.
last year we started after them.
But we've moved our start dates.
This
back,
year we did.
and last year.
Last year we did, but we still started after San Diego Unified.
Right, but my point being, we're trying to compete by starting in more of their time frame, and I just was curious whether that was helping us or hurting us in any way.
There are a number of factors that could be contributing.
It can't be, I don't think we
Calendar,
can
COVID.
nail it down to one thing.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to see the trend.
It's going down.
Not a
Year
trend,
over
but
year.
that's what my friend.
Year over year is improving.
Okay. Now, lady. Questions for Natalie?
So Natalie, basically, what we would expect to see then for the next meeting, given kind of the timeframes that you talked about and having offers out to anywhere there's open and a wait list. By the next meeting, we probably will have either fully enrolled in those or burned through the wait list.
Yeah. And I'd say for probably about every 10 offers that I'm making, 1 to 2 accepts.
How are we making the offers?
So we send the offers out through SchoolMate, and we send an email, and then we haven't called them.
Okay. And are they calling back? Or are they just saying they're not interested or?
It's really hit and miss. A lot of voicemails with no return. So those do get expired. We do have quite a bit of interest, but they most of the time want towards a chance to meet.
Is 24 hours mandated anywhere?
It's not.
I thought it was 48. I thought.
It's 48 during the summer when
Oh.
we're not, when we
Yeah,
have a
they
little bit
had-
more
yeah.
time. But once we start school, we shifted it to 24 hours to try and like go through as many
To try to
families as possible.
prevent all of these delays. Yeah.
Can
And
we, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Did we change the website at all to say that you could join the wait list on the SchoolMint link? Remember we had talked about that at the beginning?
We did.
Because if you go to enroll in our school, it's enrollment for March or like the next lottery. And so I don't know how we're gathering waitlisted students if there's nothing that says we accept you on our wait list.
Yeah, so we did reach out to our application software, and there isn't a way to create 2 separate links from the school side, but on the parent side, they are able to choose which year they want to apply for.
But I'm just saying, but
It's not
forward facing.
broadcast that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Forward facing on our website, if I go in as a parent that says, I want to add my child on this wait list, it doesn't appear to be an option. That's all. I just,
Yeah, and it's crazy that we can't have 2 separate lists. I was
I
shocked.
mean, I think she's managed it for, you know, years to try to pull up the wait list and stuff, but that forward part that says.
But the mechanics of this, let's talk about that. You said you can't maintain 2 lists.
Yeah,
I don't,
they don't allow you to have two. It's like.
I'm not asking you to have 2 lists. I think mechanically, tell me if I'm wrong, and Kate, maybe you're going here. So if you set up a separate web page for current enrollment versus, you know, future enrollment, whatever, they can click on either. It can feed into the same
Exactly.
recipe.
For sure.
It's just the front, what's showing,
Exactly.
or
what the link
have
says.
just the one, and make sure the website is clear that says, hey, when you apply now, you are applying and can be offered enrollment for this year.
Correct.
Yeah.
You,
Right.
by
Just so it's
clicking this,
clear.
you are saying you want to be on the wait list for this year, you'll have, you know.
Or going to lottery for next year, whatever, but.
Yeah, I found that to be confusing, but I like what you're saying.
But
I can see the
some way
mechanics
we've
of
got to
it
be
different.
very, very clear that if you want to go right now,
You can.
bro,
Exactly.
show up for
We
6th
want
grade
you to.
tomorrow.
Right,
Exactly.
no,
Tomorrow.
I agree.
Okay, maybe not 6th, kindergarten, tomorrow, you can show up,
For sure.
right? And so I think that's the wording of the webpage and why it's so important to get it out there sooner rather than later, because I don't want to be losing people. I think, Kate, this is your point, what we talked about last month.
Yes.
Don't want to lose people who click in and go, oh, well, I guess I can't.
It's
enroll.
next year.
It's too
It's
late.
closed, it's for next
Well, there
year.
was a period when it was closed, because it had to be closed for
Yeah,
like
but that was
2
like,
weeks.
that was like
But that's
2
the-
weeks.
Yeah,
that's
right,
not the
2 weeks,
process
it's
now.
at the end of August, yeah. It's less about the school mid side of thing and more about what we're saying to the public who come and look up our website.
Sure, again,
Because-
it comes down to how the webpage is organized.
Take away this line right now and it's almost entirely, it doesn't matter. There is one line in here that simply says, parents and students applying for admission must complete an application during the school's open enrollment period, January 25th through March 29, 2021. And you know, 2021. And you know what I would do if I was clicking on that? I go, well, crap, they're not gonna take my admission.
Yeah, you're
I gotta go.
You're getting out.
I'm calling some other charter school and see if I can get in there. So that should be able to be changed like now,
For sure.
right? And just delete that line altogether. I don't mean to be forceful with it, but I kind of do, because
I don't think it can be deleted completely because I think for ed code, you have to have a certain period of open enrollment application.
we
So
can
there
say
has to
that
be like
though.
an
But you can say-
additional
Right.
paragraph saying if you like to join the website, the web.
The wait list,
Sure.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's
thank
what
you.
I had said
The
last
current
time.
wait
Here,
list.
it should add, or last month.
And that's a one sentence thing.
It
Yep.
should say, you may also join the wait list immediately.
I think just the time, in case a timing right would be there, like right now.
Right.
It's enrollments for 2021 to 22. That the years wrong and also the dates are. You can get that updated.
For sure.
Natalie, is it mandated, is it by code that we can only make the number of offers in a grade that's the same number of offers in a grade that we have spots open? I mean, colleges don't do that. They multiply the expected matriculation rate that you were just talking about, the 20% or whatever it is, by or they divide the number of spots they had by the expected matriculation rate. So if you have 2 spots open and you are expecting a 20%, you can make 10 offers, right? Like,
I'm not entirely sure. to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's a little bit different. I know what you're talking about. So it would be tough because what happens is if we offer a spot, we have to accept it. Whereas in college, if you offer a spot, you guys can find some alternative housing.
it's just like a little bit.
You can shed them in different ways and fluff them, or they're gonna be a home person and not in a dorm. We don't have that. We gotta have a seat for them. So when we offer a spot, we have to have a spot. So it does work a little different. I like what you're thinking though. I mean, the thought process is nice to figure out how we can kind of calculate if that is.
Right, I mean, I guess what I'm thinking is like, why not be able to make more offers sooner and give them a little bit longer to respond
Sure.
rather than being like forgotten, like, right,
Yep.
24 hours.
So along those lines, so we figured out, we want to have cleanups on the dates. We want to have another link you can click so you can enroll immediately.
Yep.
Devin, you're taking that action item. We're gonna try to get them implemented as
Yep.
soon as possible.
Yep.
Okay, so that's more of a reactive when people are actively seeking us out. So how are we proactively kind of building that list, trying to get those prospects? Is that through social media channels? Is that through phone calls? Is that through pamphlets? Like how are we getting the word out?
So I would say that we are not currently. Like I think we're in the midst of that process. The social media class that I put together for that purpose is just now starting to get to the place where it's most. And then you've talked to me about some outside pains that you think that will be good. So There's some things that I want to dive into on that. The social media class, I'm working with them, we're going a little slower than I thought, but that makes sense because it's getting that started and so on and so forth. But the marketing thing is honestly, after the conversation you and I had, I think on Friday, has been in the back of my head. I just haven't been able to get to it, so we're gonna start to push that yet. But I think the last time we took a deep dive into enrollment, we were kindergarten and 8th were the ones that were completed at that point. And so my thought process came, we really need to target kindergarten because that's what's going to be here the whole time, right? Because you're not just recruiting for 1 year at that point, you're recruiting for 9 years. And also the 8th grade side of things, it's a little bit different when 8th graders are looking for schools than when the kindergartners are looking for schools. So I think like our target audience right now needs to be the younger grade levels for kids to get that in. And so that's where we're going to start that process.
I don't think we've ever had like a full 8th grade in the time that I've been here because everyone's off to try to find their home high school. They're doing all of that. Yeah, that one's.
Are there any, now this may be for you, but are there any rules against how we advertise?
As a charter, we can pretty much advertise how
We can hang doorknobs in neighborhoods. We can say, hey, if you don't
we
like
can send
your,
out mailers. Yeah, we
Right.
can.
if you don't like your local principal, call us, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you put my face on there with the come to Old Town, baby. Yeah, I'm all for that stuff. We can do those things. But what that takes at that point is a monetary investment, and I think the goal is to avoid big monetary investments. You know?
Well, we might be able to rethink some, I don't know how big, but we may be able to rethink some of the things over the next couple of months.
Well,
right?
so my past experience, you can send mailers to the entirety of San Diego County for less than $5,000 right now. So I mean,
Right.
you know, I don't look at my mail the way I probably should, but a couple people do, and so
In
you
your
know,
experience, sorry, is that effective?
that's what I say.
What are we?
So if you look at the investment, right, you pump out $5,000 and you get, let's say you get 8 kids from that enroll. Over time, it's paid.
Not
off
over
$5,000.
time, it's like half a year. You've
Yeah, but-
already made money.
That's what I mean, like, so the investment of sending out to the mass, even if you get a small portion, it gets paid for, it just takes some time.
It's like 8 would be awesome, right?
Yep.
Is 8 reasonable? Or is that
Oh,
too
yeah,
much?
I mean, if you're sending to all of San Diego
You
County,
get one, it's paid for after a full year.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Right.
It's like, it's one even reasonable expectation for lots.
Right.
It's better than nothing.
Ye-
And we know that we got $41,000 right now that we're staring at. We go,
yeah, the answer is yes, it's worth it. Now, I've been in schools where, you know, we sent out mailers and there were 200 kids that applied, like within the next 48 hours. You know, we've also sent out mailers and we've gotten 10 kids applied, you know, 72 hours. So just, I think it really depends on what we put in front of them and what appeals to that person. And I think Old Town has a lot of selling points. I mean, from music to robotics, I mean, I just think there's a mass amount of things that we're doing here that kids can't get in other places.
Does anybody on the board have any experience with marketing? That's that flyer, Bill.
Yeah. Decent. QR codes are really great too, to send them off to our social media pages and things like that that can be
But
on.
those aren't flying yet.
Not
so-
yet, that's what I mean. There's some things that have to be aligned before it's a full push that way, so.
Right, but if we can get a flyer up and running that isn't a QR code, at least number one, right?
Yeah,
And get them to a website that has everything fixed and ready to go.
Yep.
Plus however we want to market it, that can be done in the next month.
yeah, and depending on what you want, yeah, I don't want to commit to a month. Yes, I think we can pull something off like that. But the other difference is what type of mailer do you want to put out? Do you want to put out like a 2-side, or do you want like a fold out? Like, just depends on what kind of design you want, and then that usually is working with the marketing team to say, like, for this idea, you're going to want to blast this small amount, or you're going to want to robust this. I do have a very good friend who's, he's my daughter's godfather, who is the lead marketer for a cosmetics company that went big. And he's kind of free right now, Lansing. So if we want to make a call that I can probably utilize pretty well and cheap, I'm glad to do that.
I think, and obviously the board has, you know, I don't know if we have to vote on this, but it's certainly something that we can lean on and say, look, we're staring down the 22 open slots from what we budgeted. That's a lot of cash. And if we can put a little bit of cash from some of the grant money or some fundraising, what have you, and we can pick up 5 kids, 8 kids, 10 in 72 hours, whatever. Not only does it pay for itself, it gives us a compounding effect the sooner we can get it out.
Well, I guess the question is, do you want me to run with this or do you want me to pull marketing team in?
I think you should talk to your guy because you already got enough going on. But I think parallel, we gotta get the website dialed in, social media channels, and kind of the roles and responsibilities defined so that when we send this stuff out, we don't, we know what we're doing.
So Daniel, get to work.
So I think a month is realistic to get those polished up, understand some of those processes and strategies. You can talk to your contact. We
I'll
can
call my
ask
guy tonight.
other folks to reach out to their contacts and start to generate. We don't want to rush into it as much as we want to get it out there, but we want to make sure we've got the back end to support it and we're being really intentional. in this.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Natalie, you got a good chunk of time there. Sorry. Thank you for your report. Christian, IT report.
Hello, Board of Directors. As you know, I have established a collaboration partnership with other charter schools in the San Diego Unified area. Recently, out of this collaboration partnership, I have been able to secure a donation of a Prometheum active board panel with the stand included, so a smart board and the stand. This is, the cost of this item is estimated to be $8,138. As you know, this is a huge saving for us and will be a really great tool for us to use in our classrooms. As I continue to work with the secure donations and low-cost technology items for our school, I will continue to keep you updated. Regarding the website, Mr. Phillips and I are actively working and ensuring that all information is accurate, especially during these initial phases where a lot of information has been transferred from our old website and archived into the new website and this new information. This is a large project that is constantly being updated. I want to thank the board for their support with this project and let you know that as we continue to work with this, we will continue to keep updating these areas as well. Another thing that when you guys were mentioning about marketing, there's other options as well too that I know like other charter schools do. They do MTS bus wraps, for example, signs, they do billboards. KPVS does packages when it comes to marketing. I know some schools that I talk to, they use KPVS, like they create a video and they broadcast it through the channels, also radio. So there's multiple ways you guys can also do marketing. And that's basically my report. Yes.
Question, Christian. How many smart boards did we have before the donation?
0.
We didn't have any at the school?
No,
Is this
you
the
guys,
first
what we have is currently projectors.
one? Who gets to use it?
We're actually gonna put it on wheels and allow
Move it to
anybody who wants to use it. I think it's probably, might have a home here in this classroom, to be
Right
honest. But we want to utilize it for like guest speakers and things like that. So it can be dropped.
Eventually, the school that I'm collaborating right now, they are going to get new smart boards and they will be having an auction. Those, I looked at them, I looked at their smart boards, they're still in great conditions, but that is still pending on works. I'm trying to see if I can create, work with them to try to, have a bundle, like 12 Prometheum boards or even 15 for a very reasonable low price. But right now, again, it's just on the works right now. Ideally, besides having guest speakers, my idea and something I'm talking to Mr. Phillips, we're trying to work in arrangement, is give teachers the opportunity to use it, where they can, have an idea how to use the smart board. So when we do transition in the near future, if the other school does their auction, and we are able to get, multiple 12, 14, 15 smart boards, for a penny or even more. That's what I'm trying to work right now, trying to get them super cheap as possible. They will already have that experience and they won't, they'll know what to do and how to be able to implement it to give the students a better engagement when it comes to, learning.
No, it's really cool. Are they donating to us for like a tax benefit? Do they give to the foundation officially?
No, this
so
is
they can
this
get
is
the
through me.
deduction?
this is through my collaboration working with charter schools that I worked before, that I, just ask around, pretty much toss the net. And when someone replies back, says, yeah, I have this, I can definitely give it to you, if you like, if you need it. Like last board meeting, when I was able to get about 120 Chromebooks that we needed to replace the 120 that we have. During the summer, when I was in Europe, I was calling schools, calling the directors, talking to superintendents, talking to people that, collaborate with my other charter schools.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to get, those 120.
Yeah, which is also great, but so they're not doing it for a tax deduction,
They're definitely good.
but if they're
Probably.
not giving it to or a 501c3, how do they justify the donation?
We are a 501c3.
Yeah,
But only if it's to the foundation, right?
No, the
No,
school's a
the
501c3.
school is.
So any
The foundation has its tax ID, doesn't, what's the school tax?
We have.
Yeah, we have our own tax ID.
That's a
That's been a
501c3.
thing itself.
That's a 501c3.
It's a different, it's not a 501c3, but
Exactly.
but it does qualify for tax deduction. It's called something, it's like a 501B or whatever. There's some other name for it, but it's substantially similar.
Same thing as well, like for example, if a school like from San Diego Unified, let's just say, we'll say Howard Penn, we'll say, has Chromebooks, has a technology that they're gonna get rid of. They can actually transfer it from one school to another. And it's kind of similar with charter schools, since we are kind of technically, we are part of the branch of San Diego Unified, but we are kind of like independent, we can do our own, decisions. That's something that, basically you're allowed to be able to transfer equipment back and forth. If you will.
Christian, is there a list of items that
Technology wise,
yeah, like, I mean, is it everything? What does that mean? Like,
so basically in case, for example, like right now, I'm trying to get per meeting boards. So for example, if this school sells,
sorry, is that like?
Sorry.
That's a smart board.
It's a smart board.
smart board. I apologize.
It's
That's
a
per meeting board.
it's a whiteboard that you can like hook up with your laptop, right, and project an image up and collaborative on it.
And students can basically connect their Chromebooks to it and be able to present through there, be able to, see the lecture through the computer. It's a pretty, it's kind of like having the Ferrari of smart boards. That's basically what the meeting board is. It's the Ferrari version of.
Is there like I'm asking, is there like prioritized list of needs
Other
that-
technology.
Yeah, that we can then distribute, maybe like looking for elsewhere, we can know.
I'm currently doing working on my 5-year plan for technology. One of them is I'm basically trying to implement the smart boards, trying to get them out of projectors. So that's one of them right there. The Chromebooks was year one that I needed to get 120. So that's taken off my list. So as we are moving on and creating my 5-year plan to present it to Mr. Phillips, like this is the technology that we need. And this is what I'm currently, working on to try to get.
Is it possible to put together like just a very high level item, here's a set of things that we might need and distribute the board with the foundation?
Yeah, I could definitely, collect all the data and see what we need in general. I can definitely, collaborate with teachers and ask them, hey, what type of technology would you need, do you need right now that will make it much more easier for you to be able to teach. That's the end of the end game of it. And from what I'm trying to do is I want to make sure that teachers are able to have the latest and greatest and be able to teach comfortable and not have any hiccups or any issues. As technology is constantly changing, especially in the education. You have one series of Chromebooks that are brand new, and 3 days later, a new edition comes out. So I'm trying to keep up to date and make sure that teachers can have the same thing as if you see in the back right there, the document cameras. Those are another donation that I was right here, straight ahead, right, the little bugs right there, document camera.
Yeah, right here.
That was something that I was able to get a donation to be able to get the school, replace their old, document cameras, that projects whatever from there to the image to the screen.
Yeah, just if you have a list. then we can-
Yeah, definitely. I'll work on it and I'll send it to you or send it to Mr. Phillips and he can pass it to you.
How would such a list be populated? I mean, it's just sort of like, does that come from a sense of demand to the teachers themselves, or is it?
No, it's
sort of
more,
best
it's
practices?
it's more practices as, again, whatever the new, what's the newest technology, for example, if we'll say, for example, if the schools decide to move from Chromebooks to Windows servers, it's just keep on, figuring out what's the latest, the greatest. Basically, what makes it much more easier for students to be able to do their work and teachers to be able to teach. It's not like, just for example, like, this new iPhone 14 came out, then we have to get it. It's just to make sure, what fits on the description for them to be able to teach, the tools to be able to teach.
This is a little bit of an non-sequitur, but how are the access points working now?
Everything is fine right now. The only, like, again, as we transition to the new firewall, there's some filtering that was basically blocked that caused, some of the, Chromebooks not to work, or, Chromes, but as we're going, everything pretty much started fixing. So right now, currently our speeds are on our access points right now are probably like 400, compared to before the integration of the old, VPs we're talking about. We're going about 34. So far everything is fine. The only reason is that we maxed out our IP, so I pretty much have to add more additional blocks of IP in order for everything to be fine.
Thank you, Christian.
Mhm.
All right, moving down the list here, real estate advisory panel update. Walker is not available tonight. I will be taking the reins on this one instead. There's been a lot of correspondence back and forth with the brokers and even other brokers, and just trying to pursue other avenues. There's also been some parallel paths, some other strategies, reaching out to some of our consultants and other folks who have helped us try to establish a relationship with STUSD that's a little bit different. I attended a meeting, and just to give you guys a sense of what's going on, there's a Proposition U that's coming up. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the ballot initiative, but it's also to help add additional resources for charter schools. So I went to a kind of a info session on that last week, and talked to Miles and then Richard Barrera as well, and just sort of tried to take a different tack on, hey, it's very positive, and just as an individual, not as a board member, it seems like a great initiative and helps to fund these charter schools. But then also give you an opportunity to talk to Richard Barrera, let him know kind of what our predicament is, how hard we've fought for certain locations and how limited our traction has been. In reviewing Walker's, so he was receptive to that, and I think it helped to kind of plant a bug in his ear about our case. Part of this initiative is also doing teacher housing as a component of that, which could help provide some additional flexibility, some other options with different sites. I looked at Walker's list, and again, he's really been pounding the pavement, so I tip my hat to him. He's been doing a great job. He's really been getting after it. We've had 65 leads that we've pursued over the last year and a half, including this building and including the ones that we got to the appraisal stage and didn't quite get there. We have now 2 that are looking pretty promising. One in particular that we went and walked yesterday, and I can provide some more information on that as needed. And with all of these things, given that we've got 65, I don't want to build up too much excitement, but if it were to work out, it could be potentially a great fit. So we're pushing SDUSD. I sent a couple emails today, urging them to get out there, urging them to get the appraisal process started. So keep your fingers crossed. But again, we have that list. So if you want to look at it, vet it versus the stuff that you're driving by or getting referrals on, I'm happy to share that. It also has a link to the Collier's map that has all the criteria with all the fun things like gas lines, fault lines, dispensaries, liquor stores. It basically blacks out all the possible sites, but there are a few opportunities within there. So the more the merrier. If you know anybody that's a broker that's involved in real estate, please solicit them. And plug to the parents as well, whoever's watching out there. We're looking for sites that are greater than an acre, hopefully 2 acres plus. We have a $40 million earmarked. That's for both the acquisition and the construction. So we can buy a building for $39 million that's move-in ready, and that's great. So I encourage you to reach out to me or to Walker, and we'll keep the momentum going. Any questions? All right. Something. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. We'll go to board discussion. Board member assignment.
think that might be last month's agenda.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep going. Is there any other board discussion items? Okay, moving along. We already talked to the foundation. I just want to make a quick plug here, and I'm going to do it while Claire was here. They've been doing an outstanding job. I appreciate the level of organization, and all of our foundation folks have done an outstanding job over the years. It's great to have some renewed enthusiasm around it. And I know that everybody's kind of reinvigorated. That's awesome. I'm gonna make a plug. The bathrooms, I would love to do some sort of a cleanup or paint or something with the bathrooms. I know this has been something I've worked on. It's great to see what happened with the kindergartners, the first grade classroom cleanups. But everything steer the foundation towards that as one of their next targets. I think it would go along. Yeah, that was not as much fun. All right, Devin, I hope you're not offended. I'm going to shuffle the deck one more time before your section, and I'm going to jump into the student report. I may or may not have lobbied by one of the members of our audience to
One or two?
Or two.
One or two is the question. Not important.
And guys, I apologize. I don't have your names in here. Can you please introduce yourselves to the rest of the board?
Yes. I'm Jonah Turner.
Welcome. Thank you guys for inviting us. And feel free to speak up. I know we've all been chatting quite a bit on all these different topics. If you guys have any questions, or you want to, maybe you don't want to dig into the numbers, but you have questions on them, please. None of us, we have some idea what we're doing, but we also have a lot of questions. So feel free to fire away.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys take the floor.
All right.
No, you can stay right there. And you guys can tell us about,
Yes, you're supposed to stand up.
No.
Resist
No. Unless you want to say it.
I'm gonna say
I don't know if you guys have seen in the past, obviously, you guys can talk about whatever you want to. We've heard about passing periods, we've heard about SOX policies, we've heard about the bathrooms, we've heard about curriculum, recess, and how much fun it is when other class. So whatever you guys want to talk about with the board, or give us a heads up on. Yeah, flat soccer balls going over to the table.
That's actually a real problem.
I can tell you all about that one.
All right.
I think some program students without flex period, but I know a lot of students enjoy the new schedule and feel like it's not as long, but it is a lot for everybody to take in so far. Has a really good for me. It's really good for community building, teamwork. I think that's really not really well.
Yeah, so PBL, today we went around and we asked a lot of the teachers what they're doing for PBL. And we got a lot of stuff like, oh, we're researching the Maya. We're building dioramas of ancient Greek structures, which I thought was really cool because it's more history and stuff, which is always really fun. But then a lot of the stuff that especially 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school is what we're doing is, I'll start with 6th grade. They are, I believe, working on reducing the school's carbon footprint. So that's a very important topic. And 7th grade is kind of just designing because they're designing a whole new school, I guess. They've split into a couple of groups. Apparently they've got floor plans, and they've got all sorts of stuff that could really improve school. And then 8th grade, we've kind of focused in a little more. Yeah, we've split into 3 groups that are planning on a garden, a game room, like a pool table, or something, and a library. And these middle school classes are all kind of working on improving the school as a place. I know the board can't really do that much about socks and soccer balls, but
You can. Just something called COVID came in, and all of a sudden, all that stuff just
Yeah.
got swept up.
yeah.
You guys want to start championing soccer balls and socks? We're receptive.
Yeah, well, the school, yeah, even though we are looking into a kind of a new place and, making a lot of improvements, we really would like to improve as much as possible,
This is what we have.
Yeah.
I do think the library has gone furthest. They have sorted up books in the mindfulness room. Favorite, I'm not so sure. And the garden group, we're still in the process of getting each piece inside and out.
And I've met with all three groups as they wanted to meet, so that they can identify how they would move forward. I just want to say, like, it's very impressive meeting, especially with these two, but it'd be great just in general to talk about. It's been cool to see that in action. So PBL, I'm glad to hear that they're reporting that's going well because
Like saying, lots of questions, but you know, a lot of the kids have ideas. We have lots of ideas and even answers that could be really useful, and so I think it would be maybe a good investment or even a good idea to go and I guess that's our job, is to report to you guys ideas and answers.
Is there a deliverable for this, or will you be putting it in proposal, or will be?
Yeah, we are working on that, and we're gonna make a presentation to the class about proposals, and yeah, we're moving along with that, improving the school, which is a.
so we would invite you to exhibition night so that you can see all the wonderful work.
Yeah.
And we also can do performances, proposals, et cetera, here if folks want it. That's definitely a great avenue. But if something comes out of that 5 ideas or one proposal that they want to present to future board meetings, definitely something.
I know a lot of students would love to share ideas. There's a lot of strong voices in my class.
I would agree with that.
If you guys have any questions or comments, we can share it back to our class or classes of others.
I also want to tell you that these two came to me for principal advisory board, and we had that start kickoff in October. And I had a small meeting with them to talk about like what that was going to look like. And 2 days later, they were going to every classroom without being prompted to make sure that they have representatives to show up for that meeting. So get prepared. It's going to be nice.
How does the principal feel about this sacred mindfulness space being overrun?
It's not a sacred place to me. What was great is I had a vision for some of those shelves, which included a potential library. So when they came to me and told me they wanted to do it for me, I thought that was a great idea.
Any questions? So really, there are flat soccer balls?
There's not a single non-flat
Yeah.
soccer ball.
I don't have
Is it
Is
just?
there a
Do
pump
you
here?
need a pump? Do you
And
need a-
do the balls have like
I don't know if
active
they're
leaks?
pumped
or
or-
solution?
Are like this big.
Yeah.
Is it just the soccer balls or other field balls too?
It really is just the soccer
Yeah,
balls.
it's just
It's
the
very
soccer balls,
strange,
really.
and it's like a phenomenon that has been here since I got here.
Last year we got like a.
I've seen them be pumped up, and then I've seen them flat the next day. I don't really understand what's going on with
Just
it.
go right to the cactus.
Yeah, I don't know.
By car.
Did we get the basketball stuff?
I don't want to talk about that, but I did finally get a sander in hand. So now I'm waiting. Did we order grit for it?
I need like the specifics on what kind of.
Man, I was right next to Home Depot
I
today.
got the
almost
picture of the
tempted.
sander, but not like the attachment,
Yeah.
tools, sorry.
All right, I'll take care of it. We needed the sanding paper though. We finally got a sander, which took much longer than anticipated. But we finally got a sander in. It's being stored till we get the grit because we need the right grit to grind against the metal, and then we're game.
This is for the basketball.
Yes, so the basketball, okay, so maybe there's much more talk about basketball. The basketball hoops, miraculously, a company had, which I think is Huffy, has issued these basketball goals that don't connect with each other. I thought it was a user issue. I thought people were making it up. I sent multiple people to go do it. Then I decided I'd go do it myself because I wasn't getting the result, and they do not latch together. So I Googled it thinking like, everything has a YouTube video that's going to tell me how to do it. And the YouTube video and the company have issued statements that say they don't fit together. You have to sand them down. And why in the world a company would do that and how they're still selling their product is baffling to me. But we have 3 of them that all need to be sanded. So I finally got a sander, which took me longer than anticipated. And my next step is to get the grit so I can sand it down. And then if I look at the plans, literally once those 2 pieces that don't attach to each other attach, the rest of the setup for each hole will probably take 30 to 40 minutes. Like it's nothing. So it's just a matter of getting this sanded down on all 4 sides and then finally fitting together.
And these were the expensive ones that the foundation decided to go out on a limb and splurge for.
Oh,
So it's very
Last year.
frustrating from the foundation
yeah,
point
and
of view.
to go past that
Oh.
even, it was reported that they didn't fit, so they contacted the company and the company sent us the same parts that still don't fit. So we actually have some excess parts that, it's very baffling. I don't have anything else to say other than that. It's pretty bad. I don't know if it left bad review. The foundation should most definitely do that since they purchased it.
Heard a lot about
That's
this.
funny.
Yeah, again, very, very strange basketball things, but, we're getting closer. Hopefully next time we meet, not only will we have an active website, but 3 active basketball, or at least 1.
And some soccer balls. Okay. Thanks, guys. Welcome. All right, Devin, principal report.
Okay, so
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you have to
I'm
like
gonna
officially
cut
release them.
What's the first meeting?
Yeah.
I know. Thank you very much.
In future, would it be helpful for us to push this forward?
It's interesting, it's always been in the end, and I wasn't sure whether that was like part of it, to make you guys have to sit through everything.
Well, now we know more.
I think
I'm
they'd be happy to sit.
definitely receptive to pushing you guys up to the order, so get all of your homework.
I do have one final thing, is that okay?
Yeah.
One thing, is because like, we've never done this before. Is there a specific thing that you as the board would like to hear from us? Like a specific thing in the report or a specific, something that you guys would like to hear from us every meeting?
Just positive things about the principal.
No, I think we ask questions, and I think just if you guys kind of get a read on what's going on in the community, and feel free to speak your mind if you have challenges or questions about the process or things you think can improve, please bring them to us. That's your role, and you're the voice of the students. That's what we're trying to gauge, what's going on out there, what are people concerned about, what's working well, what's not working.
We appreciate them and ask their neighborhood friends if they'd like to attend with them.
Yes. Talk to their little league.
Honestly,
buddies,
some of the
talk
best
about-
recruiting is done by kids and their parents, right? And so that's certainly with them being some opportunities and openings in your grade and every other grade, you know, friends and your parents and things like that can tap people on the shoulder.
Okay, excellent, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yes, thanks so much.
Now you can talk about them.
I got nothing but great things to say about it. Okay, so on my report, the first thing I have listed is the independent study policy. So within your board packet, you should have this little packet item. It was revised mainly in the revision was to change the if you will, COVID concept that was tied to independent study, which allowed for asynchronous and synchronous work, which is a hybrid model that we are not currently adopting. So I went in and deleted anything that led any legality towards, the synchronous work, being on camera during the day with the teacher, those sorts of things, so that we weren't trying to run a hybrid model. And honestly, most of the documents left intact. I really took out a paragraph and probably 2 sentences throughout because it never said specifically synchronous or anything like that, but it alluded to the fact that the teacher would be expected to be working alongside with the people who are online. And that's just not the model we're running, and don't really have. We may have the technology to support it, but not at the level that would be wanted under that circumstance. So I'm submitting this for any type of approval, just to update it policy-wise as far as that goes. Yep.
Is it retroactive to last year 21-22, or should it be just current school year 22?
So it is it's retroactive. The policy itself did that. Do we need to update the dates? I don't think so, right?
I don't think we need to update the date, because it's gonna be embedded into the policy. That's just like the separate pullout from when it was originally written across the board last.
I appreciate the question. It's good. Other questions?
The 3 days Does that align us with the rest of the public schools?
Yeah, so we're returning to like pre-COVID independent studies. So we're not doing, we are still doing COVID. If they get COVID, obviously we can do the independent contract, but we're taking away the contract just for any purpose. So if you need a contract, we require like advance notice if you're going on vacation. Obviously, if you get an extended illness, we'll do contracts. But it's taking away kind of like the hybrid model of what we were going through.
Is there a reason why we're doing
It's
that?
no longer required by the state.
It's not required by the state, and it takes a lot of manpower to be.
It also costs us a lot of money if we don't. If somebody doesn't alert us and they just decide to take off for a couple of days.
You're talking about ADA now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if they come back and say, hey, I was gone for 3 days, can I get a study contract? Because we decided to go to Disneyland and we had such a good time, we stayed a couple extra nights.
Sure.
Right, that's what exactly it's doing. It's eliminating the retroactive portion.
Right,
of
and that's what I'm
independent contracts,
questioning.
because we're no longer able to do those. So
Sorry, we're not allowed to, or we're not
the
required
state's
to?
taken, yeah, the state has actually taken away the fact that we can retroactively date the contract.
Okay, so that's different than what I understood you were saying, so I want to make sure I'm understanding right. Did they take away the requirement for it, or did they say you can no longer do it?
They took away the requirement for it, and they took away the requirement for it based on the fact that people were, when they went into audited schools, right, not just charters, but all schools, they were finding that people were going on these leaves and they would go on for a week or two, and then they put them on a contract to get ADA back. And so they're trying to stop that from happening and changing the premise around it. Does that make sense?
It does, if they were trying to stop it from happening, wouldn't they say you can no longer do this and you must have, these are the rules to set forth? Rather than just sort of delete the section, because to me.
I'm being
delete-
honest with you, Michael, I'm not gonna speculate how.
I hear you,
how the set of things.
right, but this is an important piece.
Sure.
Because by just deleting it, that doesn't mean we can't do it. And
But
what I
think
will,
she said that they are requiring,
Right, because they
Previous
take away the
notice.
piece that we can retroactively date the contract.
you have to have
So
it
if you
set
come
up.
back and you tell me that you went on vacation, I can't issue you a
But-
contract.
right,
But if you tell me ahead of time that you're going on vacation and you need a contract, we can still.
so I'm hearing two different things, that's what I'm trying to clarify. Because it said because as I recall in reading it before, we had to offer that. What I'm hearing you say now is, we
have
no
to
longer
offer it
have
based
to
off of
offer.
COVID,
COVID.
not for vacation, not for any other excuse except for COVID.
It is no longer, okay, so, sorry, I don't mean to harp on this, but financially, this is important. Does it say we cannot
Do retroactive.
do retroactive, or does it just simply say you're required to do it for COVID?
Basically says you're
It
required
says
to do
both.
COVID, but
It's, yeah, I mean theoretically, not theoretically, but it's in the ed code, it says both. It says that we still have to provide it for COVID, but we also can't backdate it.
It says you cannot, there's a
Okay,
prohibition.
as long as there's a
on that.
prohibition, that's a different thing than what we were, that's why I was asking for clarification. Because if there's not a prohibition, stopping the practice costs us money. I don't want to encourage people to like say, hey, I'm hanging out and enjoying my time, so I'm not gonna come back. But if there is not a prohibition against it, I think it might make sense to keep that in our back pocket.
Right, no, they took away the backdate.
I can get you the verbiage. If we don't want to vote on it tonight, I can always get the verbiage so you guys can read through it.
I think it's important that we understand this,
Okay.
right? Just to be very clear, because I don't want to get in a position where we can get some money back
And we're choosing to.
and we choose not to.
Sure. I understand.
That's all.
Cool. So maybe we don't take action on this tonight. Maybe we review it. We get the verbiage out to you guys for next month. And that's up to you guys, but that's what sounds like might be the best option right now.
I mean, if you know for sure, then I mean, look, you're very good at what you do. You know the stuff backwards and forwards, but I'm hearing there's two different things, so I just want to make sure we're clear on it.
I'm pretty confident, like, it needs to be wiped, or I wouldn't have spent the time doing this, but I also don't want to cost us money in anything if there's gray area in the wordage or something like that. So
Well,
since I don't have it right in front of me, I
Right,
don't want to.
but if it's important timing wise for us to get us out, then we can approve it, and then pending a review. If it is not prohibited, then we can talk about it next month. If it is prohibited, then just move on.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, can we do
Worst
that?
case scenario, we approve it, and then you go, whoops, actually, we can amend it, and then we just
Right.
approve the revised one next.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's what I would
fine.
ask for then, for us to review it that way then.
And you did say there were sort of two purposes here. One is removing the references to asynchronous work, which we aren't doing. So
We're right. We
that
had,
needed to get done.
That has to happen
independent of
anyway.
this other issue that's
Yep.
ADA impacting potentially.
correct. And that, when they sign the contract right now, there's enough, from what I could read, I felt like there was enough legal language in it that came from the state that said, if we're offering this, guess what? We'll pop on a camera and you can watch the teacher on it too. And we're not offering that right now.
Yeah.
So getting out from under that is a good thing for us no matter what.
We're not putting that right now. So let's
Sure.
Continue going with
Sure.
the principal report.
The attendance policy, I'm trying to align it to this, and so it's not actually for review right now, so I apologize, I'm punting that myself. That one I just didn't get up to par. Building repairs, wanted to just talk about some things that were going on in the school that, we're sorry. So we just had some repairs, just wanted you guys to know. We've had a lot of, we're back to the rodent issue that we've discussed. They've chewed up some wires here, so we've had to replace them with copper to keep that from happening. We've had multiple air conditioning units that, twofold. The first issue that we've run into is they're running all the time. And so the condensation is causing leaks. And then because our roof isn't necessarily set for drainage for those leaks are finding themselves into classrooms that aren't even aligned with the AC units and different things. So we've had multiple fixes like that. Just today, this one's not part of this, but just today out on the sidewalk, I thought we were lucky because I thought it was going to be on the city side, but literally where our meter is kicked up, just outside the meter on our side is a whole valve that is shattered in some form and spraying water out today. So we had to shut it down. That's got to be fixed. So we just have had some really crazy things, and I wanted to go over some of those. Had a lot of HVAC situations from upstairs, like I said, the air conditioners that we've had to replace. So in total, just in the last month, which I think this is some of what Josh was talking about, some unusually high costs on different things, we're talking about $8,000 worth of work that we put in just in the last month and a half that I wanted to make you guys aware of. And they were all things that were immediate. Anything that I felt like we could, with the exception of one, everything that I felt like we could Band-Aid, we Band-Aided a little bit. But we had to put in a new water heater for the downstairs bathroom. For the downstairs bathroom. We had to put a whole new water heater in because it completely went out on us. But with that, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware. I felt like it was important that you guys were aware and knew that these things were happening. I work closely with Mario. He's the first guy to call who comes in and kind of works through those things because he's the very first person who went through the building, and he knows more about this building than anyone. So just wanted to share that with you. I do have records for you guys if you guys would like to see what those are, but wanted to make sure that we got those out. As I know, building is a big thing that we're talking about, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware. Also, within. Right, sorry, any questions about that stuff?
The repairs will ultimately show up on the check register too, right?
Yes.
Generally, just for you guys, the threshold at which they have to come to board approval, if it's $10,000, $15,000 new air conditioning, then that'll be something we would all vote on. But if it's just death by 1,000 cuts, we get $500 here, $1,500 there. That's all part of that purview. Take care of what we need to take care of. Let's keep things rolling, and then it'll show up.
And just out of communication, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware. And they are, if you look, it's nickel and dime. It's 150 for this, it's 200 for that. That equals to $3,100 or something like that in the process. So within the board packet that you got tonight, I also put in the
PE 400 minutes state mandated thing is I've gotten a lot of questions about that. I wanted to review it at the board level so that everybody saw it. So if you check out the state profiles page, looks like this. At the very top, I'm just going to read, and there's actually 2 documents that support this, but the amount required for physical education, California mandates at least 200 minutes of physical education every 10 days in grades 1 through 6, and also requires daily recess. The state also mandates at least 400 minutes every 10 school days of physical education for 7th and 8th grade, and all 4 years of high school. These requirements are enforced through California's categorical program monitoring process. So when I got the question of why we moved to 400 minutes of PE, it is because it's a state mandated thing that we will be audited on. The question that I got, I think with coffee at the principal, which was a very great question, was, so the mandate is for 7th and 8th, why is 6th grade doing these minutes? When I sat down with the middle school teachers, there was not a way for them to rotate and go different places during this obscure 20-minute period difference that we would have. So that led us to say, let's just pop 6th grade into that same scale. They'll get it. That'll just be the middle school model. So I wanted to review that just because I've gotten a lot of questions about it. Wanted to make sure the board knew that and could share that information moving forward. Any questions about that?
Recess doesn't count for 7th and 8th graders as.
It's not even mandated. We give them recess at lunch, but it does not count that way.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, now they're
not that it's mandated, but like, could you count it as?
No. Now what you can count is if a kid, as an example, at the end of the day went and did 2 hours of basketball practice, you can actually get that signed off as their PE. But the problem is, in order to do that, like literally every kid's got to be going and doing something. So we have to put them into the space to provide them the opportunity to get their 400 minutes. And the kids, like my kid who goes and practices soccer at the end of the night, that's just an additional workout that there's, it doesn't really process anyway.
That's helpful.
And is this-
questions come up a few times?
Is
Yeah.
this new?
So it was suspended during COVID. And so when it went suspended during COVID, we were within compliance. But when we came, this is the first year that it's rolled back. We might have rolled back last year, to be honest.
I don't know how we were in compliance before.
I think they offered that extra PE as an elective.
I think they said a lot of kids do
I-
after school programs.
I don't know.
Sorry, official stance.
I
Yeah.
think there is a couple of questions,
Sure.
just in the middle school because of uniforms and switching back and
Yeah.
forth and all of that stuff. So, and having a middle schooler myself, how is it addressed as far as what they're doing during that time period? Because I think that's part of the feedback. as
Sure.
well.
So I've gotten a lot of questions about them running. So what's really great about this policy is that the same policy, if you turn the page, it has some of the state requirements that they're going to be tested on. And some of those fitness assessments. If you go through, and I have at this point because I've gotten questions, I've met with Mr. Brinson, and we've talked through what those requirements are. There are tons of, as an example, that I think this one's not in here, but I'm pretty sure the 8th grade has to run the mile as one of those requirements. He's literally training them to get there so that they can do it and pass those tests. While it appears like they're running every day and that's viewed differently than in the outside of the gate than it is the inside, he's actually training them and doing a fantastic job on PE. I know that that's not the feedback that the kids are giving or the parents are giving me. But factually, I see it every day. I see the 8th grade PE daily because I'm also at lunch duty while they're at PE. And I can promise you that yes, they run, they jog or walk to start with, then they get into whatever game or whatever focus they're working on. Currently, they're on hockey. I know that he has requested some additional football so that he can start a football unit next. So I do know that there've been a lot of questions on that, but in the same reading, if you read through the testing that they're going to be doing, he is focused on that testing so that our kids can test at a high level assessment in physical education.
So while they may be running the mile at the beginning of the class, eventually it goes into
100%. And I think what has sparked the questioning or the debate over that is that PE during the elective was a lot longer last year. So the kids were doing the same running, what I'm hearing now, but they had so much longer to play their game, it wasn't the focus of their PE class. Where now we're at that 40 minutes every day. And so, you know, by the time a kid gets, an 8th grader gets done running that mile, sometimes that's 10 minutes, that's 15 minutes. And they're left with a smaller portion of that play time. And that's what they're seeing.
And they're not running the mile every day.
No,
So
No,
not even
that's
close.
my
That's
understanding
the other
too.
thing.
It's just
It's
a
5
couple.
days a week and they're not doing that every day.
no, they're building on their training. And the side note of this is Mr. Brinson was a collegiate running coach. So he's giving them high level instruction, which is maybe part of the thing. But it's great. I mean, like I've said, I've seen a lot of PE classes, and especially not having a gym or a track or anything to work with, I think he's doing a fantastic job. So
My son just had a soccer game last weekend, and he was looking at down the field on a few occasions. I was thinking, a lot faster than you.
Mr. Turner, who sat just to the right of you, he is our fastest student in the school, and I watched him speed up immensely since this started. So I know that I know the kids who are really focused on it, that it's fast improvement.
You know what kind of footballs they're looking for?
I do have the Amazon request, so I could look that up, but I don't know.
It's fine, it's on his list.
Yeah, it is on his list.
That's straight to foundation.
No.
Because.
Final thing I just wanted to touch base on, back to school night. Actually, we'll ask you to chime in for a second. Back to school night, which we have coming up. I can't believe I didn't put a date on here.
29th.
That's what I thought, September 29th. I have divided that. I sent out a correspondence for families. I've divided that night basically into 2 sessions, 45 minutes each. The teachers will, at 5:30 in the elementary setting, they will give their introductions at 5:30 and at 6:15, and the remainder of the time they will be accessible for parents, kids to come in and have conversations. Middle school is going to come together, I think, and I'm going to let Turner speak to what that model is going to look like.
Yeah, if you have a middle school student, you probably remember from years past that we have 2 sessions, and all 4 of the middle school teachers will be in this room, and we'll have 1 slide, and we'll each give our portion presentation. That's for a couple reasons, to save time, so we can do the 2 sessions, and then so parents with younger kids can go up and see their other teachers, and then it gives us a little time if we do stay after for one-on-one conversations, because those always come up. So we've done this for, I don't know, 5-6 years now, and it works really well, rather than you teachers or parents going to each individual room. It takes too long. So
As I said, I'm going to be on the middle school team to keep the middle school running strong, so that's the way to it is. It sounds great to me. Questions about back to school night? Just wanted to get that out to everybody and make sure that you know what's going on. Cool. That is my board report as far as tonight, the things that I wanted to talk about. So any questions?
What, just on the road, you say, talked about pruning the limbs over there. the
Yeah.
tree.
And we sent over a response and haven't heard
We
it.
haven't heard anything from the neighbor yet.
Okay.
We just
We should follow up.
Yeah, we should. I almost, when I realized this report, I almost texted you and said, we need to follow up soon. Because I knew that was gonna come with this.
Yeah, I think we can follow up on that down the road.
Yeah, I felt like we got a good proposal as far as how it was gonna be done.
Oh, that's the man. Great.
Well, we had a great person recommended to us from someone, so
Were we waiting on a couple other bids though?
I don't think so. It seemed like we were just waiting for a response from him if that was gonna work. Because if it wasn't, I think we were gonna see 4 bids.
Okay, well, we're through our main agenda here. We're getting into our new business item. I realize I forgot to take attendance at the front. I did that in August too. Anyway, please give me a nudge. We want to, I know, really. Want to do that now for the ease of the minutes?
Attendance for what?
For this.
I just wrote
Present. I mean, I think we figured out who's present by now. We're now-
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Please
Kate,
give me
figured
that
out, I
next
figured out
time.
too. Reyes, Walker, and Kristen are out.
Yep.
Everyone else is out.
I did like a summary level. We usually do the whole year.
Yeah.
I'll get back on it, guys.
A motion of no confidence.
All right, here Here we go. Approval of special board meeting minutes. Oh, man, Chris, it's time. Got a
So
backlog to work through here.
there
people.
was, and I noticed one thing when I was going through all the minutes, trying to get everything clean. May 18th, 2022 meeting minutes were circulated once, but never, no one, they didn't get printed out, so not everyone got a copy. And so we punted approval. So they've actually never been approved. But they've been sent out, they're final, they're done. I resent them again, they're still done. But because we didn't get it on the agenda in advance, we'll have to approve them next month.
Wow.
So there's still one left.
It would be well done.
They're overcooked. They're very overcooked.
These have been some amazing meeting minutes.
Natalie. I'm gonna beat a dead horse here. Question for you, because this goes back to your enrollment question. Looking at the minutes, as of the August meeting, we had 262 people enrolled. In the June meeting, we had 260 enrolled for this year. So somewhere along the lines, we lost 20 people between August 15th and whenever we started. Do we know what happened there? So assuming the minutes are right, I have no reason to question you, but as of the August meeting, it was 262 is what is showing.
Right,
And so somewhere we lost 18 students between that and now.
correct. And then total, we lost a total of 33.
So what, do they leave? So do they come for the first week and like deuces, I gotta go to my public school?
That's what
or-
she's saying. It's a mix. That 33 is a mixture. So
Yeah.
the 18 you're talking about are probably ones that didn't return.
That's what I'm trying to figure out is what
Yeah.
happened to the 18.
That would be, I mean, I can't say for certain, to be honest, when you asked the question, I was deer to headlights, like, I
saw
don't know. Yeah, but I'm thinking the 18 you're talking about would likely be kids who didn't return.
They enrolled and then just didn't show.
Yeah, like,
I
yeah.
can think of several students that fall in that category, just being in the classroom. There were some that didn't show. There were some that came and their parents moved them to a different school already. There were
Yeah.
several middle school students that have done that.
There were, I don't want to say a good portion, but there was a good handful of students that came for our first week and then where they.
And that's what I was wondering was going back to your thing, which is, oh, I don't have to pay for daycare this week. They can get an extra week of school and then boom, I'm gonna take them over to.
And I think
And
that was a
is
reality of
kind
some
Like
people.
what you hear, like in conversation, but there's no way to know.
No.
Like, there's just no way to know.
It does
We
appear like
did see
that.
quite a
sort
bit
of
of
thing.
movement in that first week, going into that Monday, the second week.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, let's get through our action items here, people. I'm gonna put forward a motion. Hopefully, everybody's had a chance to sit down, relax, and enjoy these meeting minutes. I'm gonna start with June 8th. Can I get a motion? to approve
I'm a
the meeting?
motions.
I'll second. Okay, first vote, all in favor? Aye.
Abstain. That was not present.
Two abstentions.
Do we have enough?
Daniel.
They weren't on the
We
board.
weren't on the board.
2, 3.
I wasn't either.
I don't know that we can.
You're never gonna have enough vote die. Wait, do we
either-
Never have enough.
No, we whatever.
Well,
Yeah, you'll never have enough people. with that.
because we had too much turnover.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how this works, but I would assume that we have to be able to, because I still sit as Laura C,
Well,
right? Like,
So I have a suggestion. It's an either or, and I think I'm gonna add, I think one is more better than the other. You can sit and watch the video of the meeting with the minutes next to you to verify their effort, or you can trust that the people who are here who are voting for it are voting for it correctly, and rather than abstaining, you can actually vote in favor of it, and then we'll actually get it passed.
I know Kate listens to most of these.
All right.
So
Kate was probably in a
that feels
seat
like a
out there, what are you
realistic
talking
choice.
about?
You're right there, right there.
It's true, though, I don't know how this works, because Kristen and Walker
We're
would
there.
be the only returning members, right?
Yeah.
36,
But that gives us enough.
that would.
But we couldn't do it today.
We couldn't do it today.
They're voting members, so yeah.
Yeah,
But they
I-
weren't here for the June.
They weren't either.
Neither-
60.
neither-
They're voting, I mean, they've already thrown their hat in the ring, so.
Right.
All right.
That's
I'm
more.
just saying, like, you're not gonna get enough people, and why can't we, as representatives of whoever was before us, vote? So I think that
Yeah,
works.
you can,
Okay.
you can, but you're allowed to vote.
All right, I wanna vote.
There we go. All right, let's do it. So we got.
I did so. I lost a bet last meeting. So
Two
now-
abstentions.
I'll vote in favor. That's what we're gonna do. I
Okay,
just
you don't
think
have
we're-
to.
You don't have to,
For us
we've got
be
the
a
6 approved.
Well, then there you go.
All right, but we all knew June 8th was the easy one. June
Exactly.
22nd. Okay. June 22nd, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, yeah, quicker.
All those in favor? Aye. Abstentions. Okay. Keep rolling. August 17th. Now
Now you can't.
we're all here. We're all part of that. Has everybody had a chance to review the August 17th meeting minutes?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve.
Excellent.
I'll second. Can I do that?
Yeah.
There you go. All those in favor? Aye.
This
Motion
is
carries.
the meeting when I really voted Chris into the position of treasurer in absentia, which I'm not even sure if that's like Robert's rules of parliamentary procedure kosher.
The record, I was voted in 5 years ago in abstention too, so.
Yeah, now
There's
there's
a
a
precedent
precedent
here.
for these types of shenanigans.
Yes.
We're not talking
Matt
about,
Johnson.
Matt
was the
Johnson got
same
vice
with Vice President.
there's no affirmative consent here.
Yeah, well, he did agree
He just
to the
approved
meeting
the
minutes,
meeting
so he's.
No action is action.
Yeah.
Well, approving the minutes, it's not approving everything that went on.
No, and
I attended the meeting via.
He watched the whole thing. He already said that. He knew what he was
Yeah.
doing.
I appreciate you coming to his defense, and I hope that it's not just hazing. Michael did offer to be a resource,
Yes.
and a sounding board to kind of help you. If it does exceed the time limits or the commitments, we can find out other ways to help support you. But, if you truly feel like you can.
It's fine. I did get them.
All right.
In fact, not doing the minutes. I'm really happy. I would have taken, mild
Kate,
splinters.
Okay.
in
Kate
exchange
took
for
a,
that.
she took a bullet for sure. Okay, we're good for the meeting.
Got it.
Attendance policy, we are pushing until next month, and then the next, I'm sorry. Attendance policy, we didn't get a chance to review this time, and then the
Right.
independent study policy, we're pushing it next.
Wait, no, we're not pushing it. I have a question about it. Because I think you have the quote in here that I was looking for. On the last page, it specifically says, assuming this is cut from the policy that you're talking about, beginning in 2022-23 school year and thereafter, must obtain signatures before independent study instruction. Each independent study agreement will be signed prior to the commitments.
Yeah, and that came from the state.
So then that answers the question. So it's not deleted as an option. It is specifically required.
Yep.
Or no longer allowed.
Yep.
So I remove any objection that may have come across.
Right, all right,
I like you, Tommy. You're funny.
let me amend what I said before. We agreed to vote on it this meeting, and then if necessary,
If
revise,
necessary,
and
we
it sounds
revise.
like we have the necessary clarification, that hopefully we don't have to do that next month. Okay, so the independent study policy, put it in motion to vote. Quick question.
It says 21, 22.
Yes, that's when it was first adopted. So my understanding and our understanding is it stays the same because it gets updated according, it's just the original policy.
It'll say like update.
On the footer, it'll say
Yep.
class approved.
Okay, that's what-
Right, I motion to approve.
I'll second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, that is it for approval of the check register.
That was provided prior, right? So, yep.
like for my-
I'll make a motion to approve it. You're asking for it, Zach.
All right, hang on, give me 10 seconds.
Yeah. No, by the time we put the chairs back, it won't be the same chair that was sitting out anyway.
Okay. So yes, we'll put this forward to a vote. Talby, sorry, do you want to?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion, thank you. So for seconds. had sufficient time to review. All those in favor? Aye. Very unanimous. All right, that does it for open session. Thank you. We will report on closed session. There's nothing to report out of closed session. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.